Foreman, guilty. Narrator, VO. The jury's verdict landed like a physical blow. Guilty. The word echoed in the silent courtroom, a single devastating note that shattered David's world. Narrator, VO. He looked to his parents, their faces a mask of shock and sorrow. Narrator, VO. Then he looked at the woman who had accused him, her head bowed as if in prayer. Narrator, VO. He had only known her for 2 months. She was a volunteer at the public library where he worked, and they had shared a few pleasant conversations about books. Narrator, VO. She had smiled at him. Now her tears and shaky testimony had convinced a dozen people that he was a monster. Narrator, VO. Life as he knew it ceased to exist. His apartment, his beloved collection of antique maps, the quiet evenings spent reading, all of it was gone. Narrator, VO. He was no longer David, the mild-mannered librarian. He was inmate hash 7349, a name whispered with disgust in the hallways of the state penitentiary. The first year was a blur of denial and despair. He wrote countless letters to his lawyer, to a journalist he once met, to anyone who would listen, protesting his innocence. The letters came back unopened, or with curt form responses. The legal system, having delivered its judgment, had moved on. As the years ground on, the hope of a quick appeal faded into a dull, persistent ache. His parents' visits grew less frequent, their grief weighing on them, and the distance between them felt like a chasm. David found solace in the prison library, a sad, dusty room with a handful of worn books. He read, not for pleasure, but for escape, for a brief moment of freedom from the walls, the noise, and the ever-present sense of injustice. He was in his 10th year of his 20-year sentence when the world outside began to shift. An investigative journalist, a young woman named Clara, had picked up his case. It was a long shot, a footnote in a file on a mentor's desk, but something about the original trial's flimsy evidence and the lack of a clear motive had caught her attention. She dug into old police reports, cross-referenced timelines, and, with persistent effort, finally located Sarah, the accuser. Clara found Sarah living in a different state, a ghost of her former self. The confident, tearful woman from the courtroom was gone, replaced by a gaunt figure haunted by her own silence. Sarah confessed to everything. She had been drowning in debt and desperate for a way out. She had read an article about a civil case and saw an opportunity, twisting a normal conversation with a kind stranger into a fabricated horror. The lie had given her financial security, but it had stolen her peace of mind. The shame, guilt, and fear had been a different kind of prison. Clara's exposé broke like a tidal wave. The article, titled "The Man Who Vanished," detailed her investigation, the inconsistencies in the original trial, and Sarah's signed confession. The public was outraged. The conviction was overturned, and a stunned and weary David was released. He walked out of the prison gates on a cold, gray morning. The sky seemed too vast, the air too cold, the sounds of the world too loud. He was a free man, but the years he had lost were a ghost that walked beside him. His parents, now elderly and frail, wept with relief, but their embrace could not undo the time spent apart. His old home was gone, his friends had scattered, and his life's trajectory had been irrevocably altered. The public apology from the state felt hollow. The apologies from the townspeople who had condemned him felt even more so. They wanted him to be a symbol of triumphant justice, a story with a simple, happy ending. But there was no simple ending. The truth had finally emerged, but it was a heavy burden to bear. The years of isolation and pain had left deep scars, and the work of rebuilding his life was just beginning. His freedom was not a joyous finale, but a quiet, solitary sunrise on a long and difficult road.